All right, let's talk about something huge. We're diving into a thesis that points to a massive, and I mean massive, market failure that's hiding in plain sight. It's not in some obscure corner of the economy. It's happening right now, in your neighborhood, on your street. It's basically a billion-dollar puzzle sitting in our own backyards, and today, we're going to look at the plan to solve it. So let's kick things off with a question that really gets to the heart of this whole opportunity. Just think about it for a second. There's probably a great tutor living just a few doors down. There are other people on your block who'd love to split a bulk order from Costco. Someone is literally driving to the exact same airport you are, right now. The value is everywhere. So why is our default setting always to go it alone? Why do we search globally on Google, buy by ourselves, and drive in separate cars? It doesn't seem to make sense, right?
Okay, so let's get into the weeds of this hidden opportunity. To really understand what's at stake, we first have to pin down the exact problem and all the value that we're just leaving on the table every single day.
In this slide, this lays it out perfectly. It's a paradox. On the left, you've got all this potential value that's right next door. The local expert, the group discount, the shared ride. But then look at the right side. That's what we actually do. We fire up Google, we buy alone, we travel alone. This isn't a small inefficiency. It's a massive behavioral disconnect that's happening millions of times a day all over the world.
Now, this thesis breaks down all that untapped value into two big buckets. First, you've got latent local value. This is stuff that's already there, but it's basically invisible. You know, the perfect used bike for your kid or a great recommendation for a plumber. It exists, you just can't find it. The second bucket is overlapping fragmented intent. This is even more interesting. It's when a whole bunch of people want the exact same thing at the same time, but they have no idea. Think about an entire apartment building all buying the same brand of paper towels, one by one.
So if all this value is just sitting there, why don't we just coordinate? I mean, it seems obvious. Well, the real insight here is that our behavior isn't irrational at all. It's actually perfectly logical. And it all comes down to some really simple and really powerful math.
And here it is, the user equation. Before we ever try to work with someone else, every single one of us runs this calculation in our head, whether we realize it or not. We weigh the expected benefit, saving money, saving time, against the expected cost of coordinating. And if that number comes out negative, if the hassle seems bigger than the reward, then the only rational choice is to just do it yourself.
And what are those coordination costs? Well, they're not trivial. They're very, very real. It's the headache of sending a bunch of messages and follow-ups. It's that social awkwardness, that fear of being rejected or ignored. It's the wasted time, the uncertainty, and the very real risk that people are just going to flake out on you. But here's the absolute killer insight. You pay all of these costs up front before you even know if you'll get the benefit. No wonder we almost always choose to act alone. So, if we're going to fix this, we can't just treat coordination cost as one big problem. We have to break it down. And that brings us to the core mental model of this entire pitch, the coordination failure stack. You see, coordination doesn't just fail randomly. It fails in a predictable, layered sequence.
Let's just walk through this stack layer by layer. It all starts with visibility. Can you even find the other people who want what you want? Let's say you can. Well, the next hurdle is trust. Do you feel safe enough to even talk to them? Okay, you trust them. Now comes commitment. Are they actually going to follow through? After that, you're still worried about flake risk. And only then, at the very end, do you get to execution, actually making the thing happen.
And this right here is the key. A user gets stuck at the single biggest hurdle, not the average of all of them. It's like a chain. It's only as strong as its weakest link. It doesn't matter if you build the world's greatest payment system if people can't even find each other in the first place. You have to solve these problems in order.
So which layer breaks first? Well, that depends on a hidden variable the thesis calls social distance. Think about it. In a low-distance place, like a college campus, there's built-in accountability. You know you'll see these people again. So the main problem isn't trust, it's just finding them. The first blocker is visibility. But in a high-distance world, like a big city full of strangers, there's no accountability. So there, trust is the first and biggest wall you hit.
Okay, so this brings us to the playbook. Because once you see the world through the lens of the failure stack and social distance, your strategy becomes incredibly clear. The path forward isn't a guess or a preference anymore. The model itself dictates a very specific, disciplined way to go to market.
And this is a really powerful point for any investor to hear. Our strategy isn't just a shot in the dark. It's not based on a hunch. It's a direct, logical consequence of the first principles thinking we just walked through. What this means is we have a deep understanding of the problem, and that leads to a much more de-risked approach.
So what does that ideal first customer look like? Well, the model tells you exactly where to start.
You go where social distance is already low, places like university campuses or tight-knit communities. You need things people want often and where the stakes are low if one attempt fails. And here's the most important part. You have to start in a place where solving only the visibility problem is enough to unlock immediate, real value.
And the rollout has to be phased. You can't just launch a full-blown marketplace on day one. You start with what we call visibility-first wedges. These are simple, low-risk things like, hey, is anyone going to the airport on Friday? Once you get momentum there, then you can introduce commitment-structured loops, like group purchases with clear deadlines. You deliberately save the really trust-heavy stuff for later, once you've built up a critical mass of users and a strong reputation.
Now, this isn't just a nice theory on a slide. The final piece here is moving from the model to the real world. We have early evidence that this playbook actually works, and it paints a very clear picture of the future we're building.
And the initial data is really promising. Our first experiments in these dense local clusters are already seeing multiple successful coordinations every single week. We're seeing repeatable use cases emerge all on their own. Simple asks are consistently getting multiple replies. And the key thing here for any investor is that these outcomes are measurable, they're repeatable, and they're improving. These are the very first signals of a major behavioral shift.
Which should really give you confidence is that this whole thesis can be tested. We know exactly what success looks like, and we know what failure looks like. We're not trying to capture lightning in a bottle or create a one-off viral moment. The goal here is to build a systematic, repeatable playbook that we can then scale from one community to the next.
And this really gets to the core of the long-term vision. Look, anyone can get lucky once. One successful group buy could just be a fluke. But real, sticky, lasting behavior change, that only happens when you fundamentally change a user's expectation. When they post something, they need to expect a good reply. When they join a group, they need to expect it to work. That's the holy grail.
So when you boil it all down, the app itself isn't the product. The website isn't the product. The real product we're building is a habit. We are systematically driving down the cost of coordination until working together becomes the new, rational default. The vision isn't just to build another app. It's to build the default button you press for literally anything you need from the world right outside your door. And that is a billion-dollar opportunity.